Hi, Nugs. 3 hours to go through these bookstores because I have to look at like every single book on the shelf. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Rochelle. I read a variety of books and I also have a disability, and today what we're gonna do is a book haul. Now, I know what you're probably saying, that I already did a book haul for the penny a page sale that was happening at 2nd and Charles. However, there's a little bit of a backstory for why we went again. So the thing is, I was having a really difficult week. If you've been seeing some of my posts here on YouTube, you will have an idea of what happened. So Charles and I were very bummed that week, and we kind of been talking about it, and we're like, hey, let's go and do a date day. Well, the thing is, when we went to 2nd and Charles, I actually got at least 3 coupons, and we also learned that 2nd and Charles is one of the few stores that has a teacher discount. My fiance is an elementary school counselor, so we were like, hey, these coupons are gonna expire soon. You're also a teacher and can get a discount. Let's go back to the bookstore and do a little date where we have some more time to go and wander around, and we can just go and enjoy ourselves in the bookstore. And then afterwards, we can go and get hot pot, which the second date that Charles and I ever went on was a hot pot date. So we decided that, yeah, we were gonna have this really fun date to look forward to, especially with all the sad moments that happened earlier that week. So I have a stack of books that my fiance got, and then I have a stack of books that I got. And I'm gonna go through their pile first, and then I'll go through my pile second. But as always, I'll make sure to go and leave timestamps so you can go and jump to whatever portion you're vibing with the most and you'd like to hear about more. So going off of my fiance's pile, they got a total of 5 books. And honestly, he was doing so good at going and finding a lot of the books that were marked down, whereas myself, it was kind of a hit or miss. I was a little bit of a bad influence because I found a book and my fiance hadn't even gone to that section. I was like, hey, you need to look at that book. And that book was The Baby Dragon Cafe by A.T. Qureshi. I don't think I'm saying that right, but look at how cute the cover is. So my fiance loves fantasy and is obsessed with dragons. And I saw this book. I don't really know much about it, but I was like, hey, look at this. This is cute. It has dragons. And sure enough, they ended up going and picking it up. So with a lot of my book hauls, what I like to do is read at least like a paragraph or a couple of sentences from the back of each book, just so you get an idea of what it's about. I am known to kind of continue reading longer than that sometimes, just if I get a little bit too intrigued by the book and I want to know more information about it. So it says, welcome to the cutest and most complicated cafe in town. When Saphira opens her cafe for customers with pet baby dragons, she isn't expecting it to be quite so hard to keep the fires burning. But her young dragon patrons keep incinerating the furniture, which means selling coffee isn't covering her costs. Local heartthrob Aiden is a gardener, though his disobedient baby dragon is a major distraction from his beloved plants. However, Saphira's cafe gives him an idea. He'll ask Saphira to train his dragon and pay her enough to keep the cafe afloat. This sounds so adorable and precious. I don't know when this book came out. I feel like it was a pretty recent release, but if it had come out last month, I wish I knew about it so I could have read it for the Dracana readathon. The next time it happens, I'll just have to go and borrow this from my fiance's bookshelf. And this one was a full price book, so it says $18.99. Then the next one that my fiance picked up was This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher. And this one was marked down, so it was $7.95. Former Friends, Former Flames, a mayhem-spiked quest. What could go wrong? Everyone in Metheria knows the story of how best friends Beatrice and Elwyn, handsome ex-bandit Claire, and valiant leader Galwell the Great defended the realm from darkness. It's a tale beloved by all except the heroes. They haven't spoken in a decade, devastated by what their quest cost them. But when they all receive an invitation to the Queen of Metheria's wedding, it's a summons they can't refuse, and a reunion for the ages, with Claire secretly not over his long-ago fling with Beatrice fighting the guilt she feels over how everything ended, Elwyn unprepared for the return of her ex-love, the cunning Vandra, and all of them lost without Galwell. This sounds so interesting. And as you can see, my fiance kind of has different reading tastes than I do, but I hope that you enjoy some of the picks that they had, especially if you don't vibe with the ones that are in my pile. Then we have Burning Ashes by James Bennett. I don't think I've ever seen this one before. I like this like little sticker on it though that says danger, highly flammable material. I mean, it is a book, so. A war is coming, a war to end all wars, and only Ben Garston stands in the way. Betrayed by his oldest friend and with a tragic death on his hands, there isn't enough whiskey in the world to wash away the taste of Ben's guilt. But for a one-time guardian dragon, there's no time to sit and sulk in the ruins. This sounds really interesting, and I have not heard about this book at all, so I'm definitely curious about it, and I know that when he gets to reading this book, he's going to have a great time. Then we have The Night Angel Nemesis by Brent Weeks, and this is really a thick boy, but I think this was one of the books that my fiance was super excited to get to see there, and this was one of the books that was marked down, so it's $12.95. Charles has told me about the Night Angel trilogy and how it was one of their favorites. So Brent Weeks' New York Times best-selling Night Angel trilogy is a modern masterpiece of epic fantasy. Night Angel Nemesis marks his triumphant return to this phenomenal series and the start of a brand new adventure for master assassin Kyler Stern. Ooh. Just so I don't do any accidental spoilers or anything like that, I'm not going to read the back of the book. But yeah, this was one that they were super excited to go and find and pick up. So I can't wait to hear how this one goes when they start reading it. And then the last one from my fiance's pile was Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. And this one was $19.50. So regular price is around $28. It had one of the discount stickers on it. And this one says, in a world of 1920s decadence and excess, Francesca May's irresistible debut weaves a dazzling tale of dark magic, romance, and murder. On Crow Island, people whisper that real magic lurks just below the surface. Magic doesn't interest Annie Mason, not after it stole her future. She's on the island only to settle her late father's estate and hopefully reconnect with her long-absent best friend Beatrice, who fled their dreary lives for a more glamorous one. Yet Crow Island is brimming with temptation, and the most mesmerizing may be her enigmatic new neighbor. So these were all the books that my fiance had in their pile. I believe this totaled to a little bit over $50 after applying their 20% teacher discount to their total price. Then we will go into my pile of books. So as you can see, I got a total of 8 books. And when we went to the bookstore, one of the things that I was really trying to do was stick to my little list that I had in my notebook. So I kind of would pull it out while walking through the shelves to remind myself of which ones I was looking for, because a lot of these books that I got in this pile, I couldn't find them at a discounted price for the penny a page sale, or they just weren't there at all. And they have been books that I've really been wanting to read and pick up. So I have some of those books in this pile, but I do also have a few other ones that weren't on my list. Now, when I started looking around the bookshop, I ended up going to the sprayed edges area. Most of the time the books are usually full priced, but every now and then you might find a hidden gem like I did the last time with the Scorpion Queen. So I was browsing around and I saw this book, which is Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe by C.B. Lee. This has been one that I remember seeing a while back, and I was so curious about it and wanted to pick it up. It just seems very cozy, nerdy, and cute. I love that there is a D&D dice on this character's shirt, and I was just really intrigued. I thought it looked very cozy, and it was marked down to $7.50. So when Brenda's internet goes out right before an important scholarship deadline, she stumbles into Kat's family coffee shop. Brenda is swept away by cool, confident Kat, who actually cares about Brenda's 19-step plan to save the world through science. Meanwhile, Kat can't stop thinking about Brenda, who is smart, passionate, and doesn't seem to care that Kat is the prophesized chosen one. The only problem, Kat and Brenda are from different universes. Like, need to find a portal to go on a second date date different universes. As their realities collide and things spiral out of control, can a girl determined to save the world find love with a girl determined to outrun her destiny? This seems like a cozy sapphic fantasy book, and I'm definitely excited to go and check it out. I feel like this would be a great book to go and read during the fall, and I know that Charles is really wanting to read this one too, because of the premise on the back and also just how cozy the cover looked. Then another book that I happened to find in the sprayed edges area was Fall I Want by Lyra Parrish. If you have seen my fall TBR video, you will have noticed that I put this book on that list just because the sprayed edges on the book as well as the cover obviously are screaming fall, and I feel like this would be a cute, cozy romance book to go and read. On the front of it, it says, "Love is brewing in Cozy Creek, where falling leaves lead to falling in love." Fall I Want is a feel-good, spicy, small-town romantic comedy with a billionaire who falls first and harder. Grab a pumpkin spice latte, a warm, fuzzy blanket, and make your way down to Cozy Creek. I mean, don't mind if I do. Alright, the broken-hearted billionaire visits Cozy Creek to escape. I never expected to become his fake girlfriend or fall madly in love, but here we are. I'm really excited to read this one. I definitely want to start reading it when more of the leaves start to change outside, but I think this will be a really cute and cozy read and probably really quick for me to go through. I've been really getting into romance books a lot lately, so I have a feeling that this will be a pretty quick read for me. Then one of the books that I really wanted to get the last time we came to the Second and Charles event was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This one has been on my list for the longest time, and I've really been wanting to pick it up. I saw an interview recently where a booktalker went and interviewed Pierce Brown and kind of listened to their whole writing journey and everything, and my fiance really wants to eventually write a book one day. And so I sent them that interview link, but I also went and said like, hey, I got the book as well, so I'm planning on reading it, but if you want to read it, you can borrow it as well. I'm so excited because I know so many people love this series so much and have nothing but good things, and the author just seems like an all-around great person too. So on the back it only has one sentence for the synopsis, which is interesting. And it says, his wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Darrow will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if he must become one of them to do so. For the first time, Red will rise. I am honestly so curious and very, very excited because when I was watching Pierce Brown's interview, I of course knew none of the context for any of it because I haven't read the book, so I'm excited to read this and then revisit that interview just so I have a little bit of a better idea of what he was talking about. Then another book that I've been trying to get my hands on for the longest time has been This Woven Kingdom by Tara Maffei. I have had this in my basket so many times at Bookoutlet, but it always gets out of stock whenever I'm able to go and make a purchase. And then whenever I'm in an indie bookstore, I never am able to find the book either. So I was so excited to go and find this book at Second and Charles, and I can't wait to read this. It will probably be another book that I will plan on reading this fall as well. To all the world, Eliza is a disposable servant, not the long-lost heir to an ancient Jinn kingdom, forced to hide in plain sight. The Crown Prince Cameron has heard the prophecies foretelling the death of his king, but he could never have imagined that the servant girl he can't put out of his mind would one day uproot his kingdom and the world. This Woven Kingdom is a story of clashing empires, forbidden romance, and a long-forgotten queen who must claw her way through darkness to reclaim her throne, rebuild her kingdom, and save her people from the half-lives they've been forced to live. I'm so curious and just so excited to read this. A lot of people that tend to have the same taste in books like me have had nothing but good things to say about this book, and I'm so glad that I finally have a copy of this in my hands. Then the next book I have here is House of Shadows by Darcy Coates. I'm a huge Darcy Coates fiend. I love a lot of their books, and this was one that I had really wanted to pick up last time. However, I couldn't find the first book at all in the entire store, so now I finally have it, and I'm very excited. It says, she'll never escape its shadow. Sophie's world is shattered when disaster bankrupts her family. She's still reeling when she's offered an unexpected solution. Mr. Argenton, a wealthy stranger, has asked for her hand in marriage. Marrying Mr. Argenton will save her family, but it condemns Sophie to a life in Northwood, a vast and unnaturally dark mansion situated hours from civilization. Still, she has no choice but to accept the offer and hope the darkness won't swallow her whole. I am so curious about this one because I did kind of read the premise on the back of the second book, not realizing that it was the second book, and it kind of gave me similar vibes towards Voices in the Snow by Darcy Coates, which is one of my all-time favorite book series. So I'm very excited to check this one out, and I fully plan on reading it in October just for some of those extra creepy vibes. Then a book that I got on sale was The Store by Bentley Little. I was really looking to get a few horror books, just especially since fall is hopefully coming soon. We got a little bit of a teaser last week in Colorado, and now we've been getting a lot of heat again. But I've really been in the mood to dive into a bunch of horror and thriller books again. I just have been doing more romance and fantasy lately, and I just want to deep dive into horror. So this one says, no refunds, no exchanges, no exit. Juniper, Arizona is an off-the-map desert town the retail giant called The Store has chosen for its new location. It has everything you could possibly want under one roof, at unbelievable prices. But this place demands something of its customers that goes beyond brand loyalty. At The Store, one-stop shopping has become last-stop shopping. This sounds really creepy and eerie. I don't think I know anyone that has read this book at all, so I'm very excited to go and read it and form my own thoughts without knowing the vibes that everyone else has on this book. I also really love how like floppy it is. It's so satisfying to go and hold in your hands. Then another book that I ended up getting on sale was Curdle Creek by Yvonne Battle Felton. And this was $9.95. The part that really intrigued me on this book was this part up here that says, for fans of the lottery and the Hunger Games, this novel set in a small town with a sinister tradition is chilling in the best possible way. I absolutely love the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was a series that really started my love of dystopian books. So when I saw that and the price on this book, I was kind of sold to go and pick it up. Says, welcome to Curdle Creek, a place just dying to make you feel at home. Syra, a 45-year-old widow, is an obedient follower of the strict conventions of Curdle Creek, an all-black town in rural America stuck in the past and governed by a tradition of ominous rituals. Osira is considered blessed, but her luck changes when her children take off. She comes second to last in the running of the widows, and her father flees when his name is called in the annual moving on ceremony. Forced into a test of allegiance, Osira finds herself transported back in time, then into another realm where she must answer for crimes committed by Curdle Creek. I am so curious about this one, and again, this is another book that I don't think I've heard anyone talk about, so I'm very excited to read this one as well. And it's not too thick of a book either, so this would be probably really quick to get through. Then the last book I got was Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. This is another book that has been on my list for the longest time to go and pick up, and unfortunately last time when I was at the penny a page sale, this just wasn't one of the books available, which is really sad because the sticker on the back would have qualified it for that sale. So this one is marked down to $14.95. It also has sprayed edges, so I was able to find it in that sprayed edge section. And honestly, I kind of take that as a little tip. Like when you go into certain bookstores, especially ones that are half priced or have used books, I definitely suggest that you check every single shelf because you never know what book you're gonna find. And that's also why it takes me like 3 hours to go through these bookstores, because I have to look at like every single book on the shelf. For 20 years, Kayona has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistry at the University of Magics and Industry. When Sayana finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes a high mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. Ooh. I'm very curious about this one as well. I know so many people rave about this book and love it so much. I also really want to read The Sword of Kaigen as well by the same author. So this will be my first introduction to their writing style, and I'm very curious and excited to go and check it out. But let's go and see what all that cost. So this purchase was a total of $82.78. However, I had $22.95 saved up in store credit. I also had 3 different coupons that I believe totaled to around $15 and Charles's teacher discount. So the total amount that I ended up paying for 8 books was $59.83, only a little bit more than Charles paid for his pile of books. So I feel like that was a pretty successful trip. Like I said, there were quite a few books in this pile that I really wanted to get for the longest time and just wasn't able to go and get my hands on them for the penny a page sale. So when we came back, I was like, you know what? I have some store credits, I also have coupons, and I'll have Charles's teacher discount to use. So that really helped justify going and getting these books, as well as a few extra discounted books that I'm very excited to read as well. I feel like after having such a great reading month in August where I just had such a fun time with all the books I read, it's really kind of helped get me out of that reading slump I was stuck in, and I'm really hopeful that I'll have more time and interest to actually pick up and read more books. So we'll definitely see how that goes. If you saw any books in this pile that caught your attention or that you've read before and really loved, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Another goal of mine too with these book hauls is I really want to introduce a lot of different books to people, maybe books that they haven't heard about before. And that's always one of my favorite comments that I get on my book haul videos, is that I went and showed a new book to someone that they haven't heard about before, especially if it happens to be a book that has disability representation or by a BIPOC author, because there's so many great books out there and it's hard to go and find out about all of them. And yeah, that's kind of one of my goals with these videos. They're super fun for me to make and I hope that you enjoy them as well. But if you made it to this point in the video and you don't have any idea what you'd like to comment, maybe go and leave a crow or a raven just for House of Shadows by Darcy Coates to let me know that you were here. And as always, I want to remind you all that you are worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye, friends. I love you. I'd like to think she loves me too. For those of you that are new, yeah. Neggy, lay down. Spicy small town. Neggy, booty. Camera is on, huh? Yeah, it is. That means you say hello to all your friends, huh? Yeah.